It's Big Brother's Big Archive. This week's episode, Shrekless Endangerment.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us for this latest episode of Big Brother's Big Archive. My name is Karl, and joining me via Skype is Mr. Paul Barron.
Hello.
And Mr. Joseph Tilley.
Ulrika carpet burns.
And yes, thank you once again for joining us. And today we're going to be talking about a series which is sort of been quite forgotten about. It's not one of the better celebrity series of the Channel 4 era, but it's Celebrity Big Brother 6.
But mind you though, it's one of the biggest, it's one of the biggest political outroars, right? Because this has an ex-politician in it.
Yes, we'll be getting to him in a little later on, but I don't know about you, I always found Celebrity Big Brother 6 to be quite disappointing. I think there was a lot of potential there for it to be a great series, but I don't know, for some reason or another, it just never seemed to click.
Yeah, I think I had a great cast, but not a very good house. Not very good. Like, it wasn't very exciting.
I'm sort of pretty much the same as you on that. I mean, I looked at that cast, and I thought it could be absolutely brilliant, and it just never worked for me. And I mean, there were good moments, and we'll bring a lot of them up, and maybe we might change our mind about the series, but I don't know, I was underwhelmed by the series, especially considering we'd had the 2-year break, they'd done Celebrity Hijack in the winter before, so there was a lot of momentum there, and a lot of, people were ready for a celebrity series to deliver, and it didn't.
Yeah.
Well, considering the fact that, they tried to, with Celebrity Hijack, they tried to do, something really, really unique with it, but unfortunately sort of failed in a bit.
Yeah. I can't say the Celebrity Hijack experiment ever happening, but I think the public wanted another celebrity series, and what they got was just simply not good enough for me. But we'll go into it in more detail, we talk about it, and the first thing we're going to be talking about is the cast that was chosen for that series. Now, we brought this up just a couple of seconds ago there. This looked on paper to be a great cast. And we'll put it to you, Joe, first. Who stood out for you on launch night? Who did you see being the big characters?
Well, I knew, I'm just looking through the list now, I knew pretty much every one of them, apart from, like, Lucy Pinder, and I wasn't sure who Tommy Sheridan was, but apart from that, it was a really good, exciting cast, and I did expect a lot from it.
And what about you, Paul? I'm sure there's one person in particular you were looking forward to seeing.
Verne Troyer. Which is basically, you are asking for a lot when you get Verne Troyer onto a reality show. Because when he goes into a reality show, that little man, right?
Yes.
Absolute
causes mayhem.
I know.
I didn't think it was actually going to happen because every year for certain people they have these rumours of who's going in, and I heard Verne Troyer, and I thought, no bloody way, he's not going in, and he did, and I was just.
I'm the same. I was actually very surprised to see Verne do it, to be honest.
I mean, he's either up the Keith Lemon's arse or.
Not literally, I have to point out.
No, not literally, but basically doing the bloody celebrity juice or doing something else. You'd be surprised when he actually does. And to tell you the truth, we weren't disappointed.
Yeah. Did anybody sense a real sort of 90s nostalgia vibe with the cast? Because there were so many people who basically made their careers as these 90s cult figures. Ulrika Jonsson had been in Gladiators, which was the big TV show at the time. Coolio had Gangster's Paradise. That was inescapable around 1985. That song. But we also had Terry Christian. He presented The Word, which was like the big cult youth show of the time, and of course Verne Troyer and Austin Powers. So that if you were a 90s kid, this was a real great nostalgic kick.
All we just need now is Mike Myers to come out of nowhere with the Scottish hat suit on.
With the quality of Mike Myers' films in recent years, I would like to avoid that. Let's be
And
honest.
of course, Ben Adams, he was in the boy band back in the 90s.
A1. Oh yes, thank you for reminding me about that. Well, let's be honest, there's not much to remember Ben Adams about, is there?
And where is he now?
Nowhere.
Serving coffee on an A1.
But yeah, the cast seemed great on paper. I could pick out hundreds of castmates who had the potential to be great. But we'll get into the series a bit more, and I've just got my notes up here for what we're going to be talking about. And the first thing we're going to be talking about is the opening night twist, which involved Terry Christian becoming the so-called King of the House. And as his role as King of the House, Terry was forced to choose 3 nominees for that week in a series of tasks. He had to choose one housemate based on who he thought was the most egotistical, one who he thought was the least talented, and the one who he thought had the least integrity. So we'll talk about these tasks in particular, and the first one we're going to be talking about is the ego task, which involved the housemates having to give themselves billing credits for the closing credits. And he chose Ulrika as the most egotistical housemate.
Yeah, I think I can understand where that's going, because quite frankly, Ulrika did practically sleep with most of the England football team.
But I think if they'd waited for that task to be further along in the series, you would have chosen someone like Tina or Coolio.
Yeah,
Yes.
I could probably see that task sort of working out somewhere mid-series, but just at the right beginning of it doesn't actually sort of...
And it sort of brings me on to a point which I always bring up is why did Channel 4 always seem to have, well, Channel 4 and Channel 5 always seem to have this insistence on doing opening night twists, opening week twists, because all you're really doing everywhere is you're just distorting what would generally happen in the real show, and the opening twists seldom work anyway, did he?
Don't get me bloody started on opening night twists. Right? I've just seen the new bloody version of Big Brother, which I'm gonna say now, not very impressed with.
Well, I'll have to disagree with you there, but we'll come to that later.
Wow, alright, fair enough. But still, I don't know why they decided to do these opening night twists. They just, they were good when they were first out, but then they just fall flat. I'm just waiting for Channel 5 to just go, here's the opening night twist for everyone. He's coming in with a hat.
Pimp hat.
Yes. Basically, he's not. It's nothing to do with the game or anything. He's just coming in with a hat.
Yeah. I also felt with a lot of these tasks, just getting back to Celebrity Big Brother 6, a lot of these tasks on like ego, vanity, etc., they were pretty much set up to give certain housemates a shaft. I mean, because it was so early in the series, Ulrika was obviously going to be called out as having the biggest ego, because she was probably the biggest star in there. It was going to be inevitable. But also as well, the talent task which they had to do afterwards, I thought was very hard on Lucy, because everybody else had a chance to really showcase themselves. So Coolio sang Gangster's Paradise, Ben Adams sung an A1 song, etc. Lucy had to read the news in her underwear. And I mean, how can you really showcase how talented you are when that's what you have to do?
Dude. Big talent.
Yeah, you had very big talents, very big and juicy and squishy talents.
I dread to think what you're doing in your bedroom there, Paul. Really do.
I'm not in my bedroom. I'm in the front room, so.
Well, that makes it even worse. Your mum and dad will probably say.
She's watching Hyacinth Bouquet, so Hello,
Okay. I think we just set up the Paul's dog, so we'll try and move on. And we'll move on and we'll go to the integrity task. And let's be honest, I just think Ben was just chosen because Terry didn't have anybody else to think of.
Yeah.
He just came in and said, I don't know who the hell any of you are. So.
Actually, if I'm right in saying, did Terry choose Ben knowing that he would stay? And that was the reason why he said he had the least integrity?
I don't know. Probably,
yeah. I mean, it's hard to remember a lot about Celebrity Big Brother 6.
He openly said he didn't know who Ben was, he didn't know who Lucy was.
Now, how did you think Terry handled himself during the King of the House role? Do you think he took on it quite positively, or do you think he got quite big-headed about it?
I think he got quite big-headed about it.
I mean, you've been put into a point of power, innit? it's mad not to go mad with power. I mean, you know, have you not been mad with power? Have you not had that little authority and then suddenly say, I'm not letting you in because, quite frankly, I just don't like you, so you go on, shoot. That's all.
Yeah, I can see that. But it's hard to say with two for me. I think in some cases you had this sort of self-depreciating humour which sort of quite endeared him, but at the same time, I don't know, there was something a little bit off about him during the whole series, and I think the King of the House task really exposed some of those in some cases. So Ulrika, Lucy and Ben were nominated for that week, and we'll come to who got evicted later on. And we'll come to the first big shopping task of the series, which was the Rich and Famous task. Now it was a selection of mini tasks which involved the housemates doing particular roles, and we'll pick out some of them. But the main central one was a paparazzi task, which involved Coolio, Tina Malone and Michelle Heaton all acting as paparazzi, where they had to stay in the little media ring. If anybody left, they would earn themselves a fare. And the idea was that they would...
Why not just see, you know, everyone just hiding behind Sylvester Stallone's mom going, take pictures of this! It's just, oh my god, it's horrible! So horrible! Oh Lord!
I love that we randomly threw in a Jackie Stallone reference.
I know, where did that come from?
Where did that come from, Paul?
She's not for another two series, is it?
Yeah, Paul. I think you got your Stallones and your Malones mixed up.
Oh, bollocks! Sorry.
Yeah. It's okay, Paul. We all make mistakes. But now the celebrity paparazzi task. There's a couple of things that I want to remember about that. The first was that it really began to emphasise the Coolio as an antagonist for the series.
Yeah.
Sort of role, because he really did wind up Michelle doing that task. I remember he was talking in this like southern madam voice. He was like, Coolio, please shut up. I'm not Coolio, I'm Jeffrey Franklin Roosevelt Boudet.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh, now I remember, right.
God.
Well now.
But yeah, Coolio really, and I mean the Coolio versus Michelle feud, that was like an underlying thing which I always quite enjoyed during that series. But during the task, as the paparazzi, what they had to do was they had to stay in the media ring, and during the day, at intermittent times, they would lift a celebrity up onto a crane outside the house. And they had to identify who the celebrity was, take a picture of them, and then it'd be sent back down. They'd be sent up Chesney Hawkes, sent up a couple of actors from Shameless, a couple of models. There's two of them though, and you've just mentioned them for me, Joe. Two moments there which I thought were really funny. The first was
apart from the cast from Shameless, you know, with Nikki, I'm thinking, oh my god, it's a flying pile of crap.
I have to warn people when we get to Big Brother 7, Paul is definitely not a Nikki Graham fan, but
she's irritating, annoying. I would love to see her.
Save it for Big Brother 7, Paul.
Alright.
But there's two moments on that which I always thought were quite funny. The first was when they sent Michael Barrymore up. Everybody was in the house, and obviously didn't notice that Barrymore was there. So Barrymore's frantically waving on the crane, like desperately trying to get their attention, and of course they don't realise him then. Barrymore's like saying, "Oh come on, I haven't been off telly that long, come on." And so of course they don't get them and they fail for that. But I think if there's more of a symbolism of how far Michael Barrymore fell, that's pretty much it. And the other one was Nikki Graham. So they sent Nikki up on the crane, and they take the picture, but they can't realise who it is. They recognise the face, but the housemates just can't tell who it is.
Until she starts bellowing like a friggin'...
They weren't allowed to talk to the housemates. But, so they can't realise who it is, and they feel for that. And it cuts to Nikki inside...
Talk to the housemates! You can bloody hear it from friggin' Kent!
And it cuts to Nikki inside the crane as she's being lowered back down. And Nikki has this look of absolute contempt. She's gutted nobody knows who she is as she slowly gets lowered down.
And thus justice has been made.
But yeah, I always found them two very funny moments. But other funny moments during that celebrity task. Mudgy and Terry have to worship a celebrity cult. But the big one that everybody remembers is Ulrika Jonsson and Verne Troyer performing Endless Love.
I love it.
Absolutely brilliant moment. So Ulrika gets done up with a massive big Diana Ross perm. Verne gets done up as Lionel Richie with his little moustache and these massive sunglasses. Very funny moment.
Oh my god, that was priceless. I mean, just seeing, imagine Lionel Richie, but then imagine him short, tiny, and on helium.
I'm surprised Sam and Karl hasn't had something like that on Britain's Got Talent, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Although one of the things I will say though is, Verne, you two love Verne. I'm maybe a bit more cynical about him. Did you feel that Verne had to be given these funny moments to stand out? To showcase his humour?
Not really, because
funny and to Latoya. Latoya's a very quiet, bubbly person, and he would make her laugh all the time.
Yeah,
you actually brought me to something which I'd bring up later, the Verne and Latoya relationship. But I don't know. Maybe I just don't. Maybe
you've got to have a small bit of alcohol, then you've got quality TV for the next few weeks.
And maybe it's just because I'm not as big of a Verne lover. I'm just maybe a bit more cynical about him. But you two obviously love him, and I can understand why. And the Lionel Richie Diana Ross incident was a great example of that. But unfortunately, we did lose one contestant that week. It was either going to be Ben, Ulrika, or Lucy who was going to go that week. Most people knew it wasn't going to be Ben because he was an attractive male up against two nagging women. And it ended up being Lucy. Now, I always felt for Lucy during this week and during this task, but for me, in my eyes, it didn't matter what Lucy did. Lucy could have been the nicest person in the world. She was always going to be first one out just because of who she was and what she did for a living.
Well, maybe it's because of the fact that she's Verne Troyer's little hidey hole. Every 5 minutes. Verne, where are you? Out of the boobs.
I was going to say that Lucy grew 3 breasts suddenly.
Where's Verne at? Here I am.
I always felt for Lucy. Lucy wasn't the most entertaining housemate by any means. She won't be a remembered Big Brother All-Star. But I always did feel that she was in a lose-lose situation. Regardless of what she did, she was never going to be winning over the public.
I think that, as I say, she was seen, first out as soon as she got out of the car. But I think she was an alright character. She wasn't big-headed like some of the other models I've had on every year.
I've always seen Lucy Pinder more of the normal of the of models.
Yeah, a bit more down to earth. Yeah,
I would like to call an Oscar statue now with tits.
Okay.
Paul, please don't tell us about your sexual fantasies.
Next on to week 2.
Yes. We move on to week 2, and we're going to be talking about an incident which happened, which was Shrekgate.
Oh God!
Basically, if I remember correctly, the housemates had won a sort of English-themed reward, and Tina had been glammed up in a great formal Edwardian gown, and Michelle Heaton innocently says, "Oh my God, you look like the princess from Shrek." Obviously meaning Princess Fiona pre-transformation. Obviously meaning it in a nice way. But all the lads took it to mean she looks like Princess Fiona as the ogre. And it's a misunderstanding, and the house kicks off about it, and funny moment, and Tina gets really upset.
I'm crying.
That's the biggest insult you could ever do. I said that to.
But
I think I accidentally said that to Vicky, one of Gareth's exes, right? And she went fucking nuts.
But Michelle meant it so innocently as well. That's what made it funnier for me. She genuinely thought you looked like the nice Fiona, but the lads took it the other way. Very funny moment though. But it also.
To the muscle suits, the zappy suits again.
Yes. The The return of the shock suits. but of course, by this point, we hadn't been sick of the shock suits yet. They had been used about 10,000 times. It was only the second time. But very funny though. There's always something very funny about physical humour on Big Brother.
Yeah.
Physical humour and men in drag. If in doubt, just get them too. But one thing that
bring up the toy task.
yes, we're coming to the toy task later. But one thing I want to bring up first is I want to bring up the battle of the sexes during that series, because one thing that Shrekgate did do inadvertently was bring up like one of the series defining things from that series, which was the battle of the sexes, which was that the men seemed very cliquish, always seemed to stick together, vote as a voting bloc, and the women were didn't really get their act together, and there was a real divide between the men and the women during that series. And I think that actually helps play a part in what happens with the final result. Won't give away any spoilers, but what was your view on that? Did you feel there was a real gender divide in the house, Joe?
I think that there was, to a certain degree, that the boys felt that they were, better than the girls, but ultimately the winner showed that the better. I would say the winner was, yeah.
Do you think it made the boys look negative in that sense, that they were sort of like this almost girl-like clique, picking off the women one by one?
Yeah.
All we just need is a friggin'. I think with that sort of situation, all we just need is all of them dressing in pink and saying, "I don't like her. She says something bad," or something like that. Like Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Except more.
To be fair, I'm surprised we haven't seen more of that in Big Brother, like the sort of male-female divide. I mean, sort of the lip gloss bitches and the jungle cats was sort of a male-female divide, but this one was really the only time we ever had a major split along gender lines.
If you do diss on a girl for looking like Princess Fiona, the women, some of the other women would probably come and tend to the one who's been hurt. So that's probably what's happened there.
Yeah, I can possibly say that. But we come on to what Joe mentioned, which was the toy task. Once again, it was a bit of a mini task, which involved different, basically.
Why do I just see the fact that they're just using the toy task just to pick on how small Buddy Vernon is?
Well, wasn't he dressed up as a teddy bear?
Ah!
Bears and that ate a pot of honey.
Yes, I remember that. And am I right in saying he actually got up into an actual high chair? He was actually put into a high chair.
Yes, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thus we have lost the dwarf audience. Bye bye dwarves.
Other ones which I brought up was, once again, they had to rely on men in drag. Terry had to be a ballerina along with Team Malone. Ulrika had to be a Native American. Now I love this because I know you two aren't keen on Channel 5's editing, but Channel 4 did something during that task which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Which was, as the climax to Ulrika's task, she had to shoot a bow and arrow and hit certain amount of targets. And remember, like in the run up to the task, they would start with the drum roll. They added the drum roll onto the show, and it would cut quite quickly between Ulrika and the target, all the housemates looking, and as the drum roll got faster, the cutting got faster, preparing for that moment as Ulrika released the bow, and it dropped straight on the ground.
It's like seeing a bazooka misfire. Just basically.
But yeah, funny moment, and I mean, sometimes you do have grievances with the editing using incidental music like that, but when you do it right, like what Channel 4 did there, it can really add to the enjoyment of the moment.
Comedy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. With that, I just wanted to see, I just want to see the fact that they added the sound as well,
That would be great.
It does fit into that because it just does. Right.
Yeah.
Continue on.
We move on, and other tasks. Ben had to scare people dressed as a dinosaur and failed.
That's hilarious.
The old cars.
Yes, and Mucha and Latoya had to basically do the famous scene from Big on the giant piano.
Oh yeah. Oh god, that was good. That they almost did it as well.
They did, yeah. Although the one big thing I didn't really like about the toy tasks, maybe it's because it's Big Brother 13, maybe because it's 2013 and we're sort of a bit tainted by the Savile scandal. But I always feel quite uncomfortable watching that series again when the kids have to come into the house.
Oh yeah, with the toy box.
Yeah, I was just a little bit uneasy about that now. I mean, having the kids in there seemed innocent enough. It fit with the theme of the task, but it's quite uncomfortable to think of it now, knowing what we do now about like Operation U-Tree, etc. But we'll have to try and move on because, let's be honest, who wants to talk about Jimmy Savile? And we're going to be moving on to Tina Malone, who was evicted that week against Ulrika.
Small margin though.
Yeah, it was surprisingly close. I have to admit.
8%.
Yes. Now, what was your view on Tina as a housemate? Because for the second evictee, Tina did bring a lot to the show. I felt.
See, told you.
I think that I know Tina from other shows like Shameless and all the other
Ladies.
and I know she's quite Dinner Ladies, and I know she's like quite a loudmouth character, but I think she brought that through like as herself, and I don't think people liked it, but
To me, Tina Malone sort of reminds me of the jolly mum type. You go through the door, and then you meet your friend's mum, and you go, "Hi, how you doing?" You say something funny, so that sort of thing.
No, I mean, some people always try to criticise Tina, say, oh, she was a loudmouth, she was quite vulgar to listen to and to hear. But I felt she delivered
her,
it.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's her. I mean, and the house needed a big alpha female type, especially with the Battle of the Sexes, and I think Tina delivered that. But I think because she was an alpha female, she was only ever going to be out early.
Yeah.
And if you notice, though, the four people who were up that week, it was Tina, Michelle Heaton, Ulrika Jonsson, and Mucha, all women. So it basically plays into that men as a clique theory that I put forward before. I just wanted to bring that up.
I agree with you because Tina, to tell you the truth, and I'm sorry for saying this, does look like a hairless gorilla with a wig on, but still. She does bring the dominant sort of side onto it.
Tell you what, Paul, you are so lucky that we get so few listeners because we would be done for libel by now.
Done for libel, insulting someone, making them laugh. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought Tina really delivered. I mean, she was loud, she was outspoken.
She was the only one to stand up to Coolio.
Only one to stand up for Coolio, and actually that brings me on to something which I want to talk about, which was, what was your view on Coolio's behaviour in the house? Because I don't know, I think a lot of people expected Coolio to be quite this quite wisecracking, goofy, fun character. And what we ended up getting was this antagonist, and I mean a good one at that. I enjoyed watching Coolio in the house, but he wasn't what I expected on launch night. What was your view on Coolio, Paul?
You were probably going to be expecting, a bit of a big character, but instead becoming a bigger asshole. But
But that's exactly what you need on a show like this, though. I mean,
but you're describing Coolio as one of those cartoony sort of villains
he was though. In my eyes, he was. Coolio was one twiddly mustache away from tying a woman to a train tracks.
Twirling his mustache. as we have proven, you're not a cartoon villain until you have an intro song.
Well, he did Gangster's Paradise.
Touche.
But yeah, Coolio was just nothing more for me. I mean, he maybe pushed the line a bit, maybe he did step out of order, but I felt he played the villain role brilliantly, much better than he did in Ultimate Big Brother, but we'll get to that when we cover that series. But I found Coolio just to be fun. I mean, he brought it to the show, and he brought it fantastically in my eyes. But I have to mention this. A few minutes after Tina got evicted, she was followed straight out the door by Mucha, one of the very few celebrities who ended up quitting the show.
Like an hour and 40 minutes later.
Exactly. What was your view on Mucha as a contestant? Because
I don't think she was that interesting, really. I thought she was going to be more, more of a character, and I don't think she delivered.
very underwhelming. I have to agree there. I really do, because I expected a lot more from Mucha, and she just didn't bring it. She was miserable. She
was much to talk about, but not as much to actually bring into the house, really.
Yeah, I think if Mucha and Sov next to each other, Sov would win every time.
Yeah, Sov was fantastic. I mean, do you think maybe Mucha was brought in to sort of be the sort of Sov type character? Because she had a bit of a rebel side, and I think
With this sort of thing, you just expect, some people to go in with a clean slate. You don't know who they are, you don't know what they're going to do, and you don't know why they're going to do it. But here we are.
Yeah, I found
which is the interesting thing, which I get from Big Brother in general, because you're bringing everyone into one place and seeing how it goes. It's basically an odd couple times 5 times a lot more.
Yeah, I can sort of say that as well. Yeah, I just found Mucha very underwhelming, and her loss, her deciding to quit, wasn't a loss to the show for me. That's just my opinion. Now I'm going to talk.
Sugar babes suck as well.
I like one song and that's it.
I like zero. I like 0 songs and that's it. I'm not.
You don't like a lot of things and that's it.
Yeah, I have to be honest. Yeah. We're going to move on though, and we're going to devote this section really. This is the section Paul's been looking forward to. We have to talk about Verne Troyer. And of course, that incident, the one that everybody remembers from the series, Verne and the diary room door.
Oh my god!
Even
I think it's nothing
Joseph shot into the stadium room.
Well, we'll let you describe this one, Paul. You love this moment. Tell us why you love it so much.
If everyone to everyone who actually knows what I'm talking about, there's 2 things that that if you want a reality show to work, 2 things you've got to have in this. You've got to have Verne Troyer, and you've got to have alcohol, right? And to tell you the truth, that's what happened on the Real World. That's what happened on the Real World Celebrity Edition when Verne Troyer was in it, because, quote unquote, he ended up naked, rolling around on a scooter, peeing in a plant pot, and now a same incident with the same scooter happened in the Big Brother house, except he tried to take out the diary room door.
Can I also say that he was also very drunk when they did the I don't know if we've covered it yet. I think it was like Letters from Home.
Yes, we haven't covered it yet, no, but yes, he was, and it's actually the theme of Verne's drunken behaviour is something I'm going to bring up after we talk about the diary room thing, because there's a couple of things I love about the diary room incident, which is, first of all, I love Verne's sort of big build-up for himself. He's like, "Oi, Remzi's a scooter up, watch this," as he charges towards the door.
Oh yeah.
And then if you actually watch afterwards, after the impact, after he hits the door, you can see the impact nearly chucks Verne off the scooter.
Yeah, and then he's been going.
Meanie down, meanie down.
It was a very funny moment, but the sort of drunken behaviour of Verne though does bring me onto something, because I noticed a real change. It was sort of like a Jekyll and Hyde thing with Verne over alcohol, because when Verne was sober, I mean, Paul will probably disagree with me, when Verne was sober, he was a nice, pleasant enough bloke. I mean, his relationship with Latoya, very nice, very enjoyable to listen to. But then when he got drunk, sometimes it could be hilarious. I mean, the diary room door incident being an example of that.
Yeah.
And then there were times when he just pushed it really too far. I mean, there was a real... Exactly the word I was thinking of there, Joe.
That's sort of what happens when you basically become a rock star. I mean, yeah, you get all piles of money, but you end up also just getting drunk and starting to have this sort of personality thing.
But was this? But the thing is, though, Paul, is this twisted side to Verne a negative thing when it came to his relationship with the public? Because I mean, I can think of a couple of instances there. I mean, as you mentioned, there was quite that lecherous side. I think he tried to flirt with Michelle Heaton at one point when he was drunk, and there was also the incident with the doll, where he ended up. I think he had one of the dolls left over from the toy task, and Verne started snogging it and making love to it, and it came across as very sleazy. And I think it put a lot of people off Verne.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I want to see this clip. I want someone to make a comic strip and sell it to DC. I want to see the drunken tales of Verne Troyer and his sidekick, Animate Object Girl.
I don't though, and I don't think a lot of the public did either. I think people like to point out these moments where a massive favourite ends up losing the show for themselves. We talked about Freddie when he started gloating at Lisa about how popular he was. I think that was Verne's Freddie moment. I think that was the moment that lost the show for him.
That was the Freddie moment for Verne. But unfortunately, with that, you do get loved ones starting to question his, especially when the entirety of the British Isles is actually watching you, to question your health a bit.
Yeah.
Which is in Verne's case, seeing as he's actually the approximate size of my leg, that's a bit of a big issue, really.
Yeah. But yeah, I found Verne's behaviour a bit too much at times when he was drunk. He could be funny, but most of the time he was quite cruel. Well, we move on though, and of course there was another eviction during that week. And it's unfortunately led us to losing Michelle Heaton. Now,
a great way to lose somebody. The surprise eviction.
Yes, I always enjoy a good surprise eviction. This maybe didn't have the impact of some of the other ones, but a good surprise eviction always enjoyable to watch.
There's always one surprise eviction that gets me, and I'll tell you about it when we talk about it.
Yes. Yeah. I know which one you're talking about. I'm looking forward to covering that series just because of that surprise eviction. But once again, it was Ulrika who ended up being up for eviction and ended up surviving. And why do you think Ulrika was so disliked by the rest of the house? Because she was up every week that it was possible.
Yeah, I think. I think that. I don't know what, I can't personally say what she was like in the house, but, I think everyone outside the house watching saw her for, Ulrika, the woman who shagged Verne, but she was like...
Not just Verne.
Who hadn't, let's be honest.
About half of the England team as well.
Alright. And, everyone saw her as the mum, and... she's all very nice.
She did have a bit of a miserable side to her though. Ulrika did sulk a bit.
Sometimes, looking through pictures and stuff, she looks like grumpy cat. Paul gets it.
She did, yeah. She did.
I did not want to be in Big Brother.
But Michelle went that week. She got 67% of the public vote. What was your view on Michelle as a housemate?
I think that again, Mutia, she didn't bring much to the show.
I thought you did. I thought you brought a little bit more than Mutia, personally.
Yeah, a little bit more, but not too much,
Because the feud with Coolio, she really did not like Coolio whatsoever. She was sort of, after Tina got evicted, she became the default anti-Coolio contestant.
Yeah.
Where did you stand on it, Paul?
To be honest here, if one bad guy goes, another's gonna have to take his place, and Michelle's probably have done that, but probably have done it very, very wrong.
So
trying to save a kitty from a tree, but instead you bend the tree backwards and fire the kitty into his face or something.
I love your references to random things, Paul. Michelle was supposed to be this well, arguably with Coolio as the primary antagonist, Michelle was supposed to be a rootable figure against the evil Coolio. She was just miserable though, that's what I thought. There was no reason for me to really get behind Michelle as a contestant, she just seemed like a bit of a nag.
And plus, Liberty X wasn't that good as well, so...
that's Paul's very default reason to dislike them.
That's it. Yeah, but I think, she looked after everyone in the house. She looked after Verne. She looked after Mutia and Michelle. She hated Coolio.
Yeah, well, who didn't, let's be honest, by the end of the series.
A lot of people didn't like Coolio.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Michelle went that week. Ulrika survives for the third straight time. And then does something which I think is very interesting. And I don't think she gets much praise for this as what she should. Ulrika begins very cynically playing for the female vote. She realises there is this divide between men and women in the house and begins playing for it. So she goes in the diary room basically saying, I'm doing this for all the sisters, I'm doing this for all the mums. And Ulrika gets a lot of grief as a contestant, she gets a lot of grief as a winner. I thought that was very smart on her part.
Yeah.
We're talking about someone actually saying, oh, I'm doing this for the mums, I'm doing this for the lasses, I'm doing this for... Dude, you're doing this for yourself, you selfish woman.
But I mean, what I'm trying to imply though is that Ulrika knew what buttons to press with the viewing public and knew what would try and encourage them to support her. And she played that to absolute perfection in my eyes.
Yeah.
Because as I mentioned, she highlighted the divide in the house. There was this men versus women feud. And she basically realised, if I'm the last woman remaining, I can get all those women votes. So she cynically targeted them. And I think she did it brilliantly.
So basically, if I'm going down, you're all coming down with me.
Oh God.
What have you found your...
This is a picture of Verne Trade dressed as a bear. It's hilarious.
You'll have to send me that link. But yeah, Ulrika playing for the female vote, doing it very well, I think. I mean, I'm in the minority, obviously you two don't agree, but I think Ulrika did very well and very clever to play the public in that way. But also, one thing I found quite interesting was there was an American themed task during that week. Obviously catered to Coolio, Verne and Latoya. And basically the reward was that if they passed this task, which they did, they would be allowed to watch President Obama's inauguration. And I found this interesting for two reasons. The first was that it really was the only time during the series where we saw quite a sensitive side to Coolio. Obviously it's a big proud moment for him to have like the first black president, and that came through, and Coolio really showed this emotional side, which was refreshing to see. But the other one was Channel 4 going all out to try and make their American housemates welcome and to try and show, like, give them something quite positive. Could you ever see Channel 5 doing something similar? I mean, look at the way that American housemates were portrayed on the Channel 4 series.
They were bloody not. They're basically trying to push their... Right? Have you ever seen Fox News?
Yes.
Channel 5 has turned into the Fox News of Britain.
What I'm trying to imply though is that Channel 4 really made their American guests feel welcome by doing tasks such as this, and also giving American housemates quite good portrayals. I mean, you can point out Jermaine Jackson, Dirk Benedict, very popular, well portrayed.
Yes.
Now compare that to how Channel 5 do them, and nearly always the American housemates are portrayed like absolute dicks. I mean, some of them deserve it, but I mean, some of the times they just go all out to try and make them into these panto baddies. You could never see Channel 5 going out, all out, in the same way that Channel 4 did.
Which is a good thing, considering the fact that, you know, in the end of the day, we're all flesh and blood. It's just the fact that, well, Britain's more of the stuck-up cousin that sits in the corner, really.
Yeah.
The one that constantly bitches on everyone around him, you know, spreading rumours and just, you know, being unpleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you make of that? What did you make of that American task, Joe?
I think that it was a bit of a it was just to show like that Channel 4 still cares about America and they want the American audience to come and vote for Coolio and Latoya and Verne. Yeah. I think it was just to get the American vote.
Well, obviously it didn't work in the case of Latoya because the lines to win had opened just after Michelle's eviction, and Latoya ended up getting the least votes. Now, which I was actually surprised by because Latoya wasn't the most relevant contestant of that series. She didn't do the most, but she seemed like a pleasant, sweet enough personality. She was a bit aloof, a bit goofy. And I mean, I thought these were traits which I thought would have been quite endearing to the audience. So to see her getting less votes than some of the men in there, I found very surprising.
Yeah. I thought she would have come at least in the top 3.
Is there any great Latoya moment that comes to mind for you, Joe?
Great Latoya moment. Probably, as I say, when Verne was drunk during the Lessons from Home test and she was chasing him around the sofas. He was in his little motor scooter and she was chasing him around the sofas.
I like that.
Why do I just see that? Why do I just... that's just the most hilarious thing ever. It just reminds me of that part in Monkey Bone. It's just, they're sitting on these dodgems and then suddenly, the actor sort of chases the monkey now.
The one thing I'm more worried about is what are you doing watching Monkey Bone? Terrible film.
Touche. Mind you, I like the art style, but on the other hand,
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes, moving on. I mean, we can talk about bad Brendan Fraser films for eternity because there's been plenty of them. But we're going to be moving on, and it was a double. It was a double midweek eviction. I think obviously they saw the impact that Mo and Kat had in the Big Brother 9 and tried to repeat that. I'm sorry, I had to bring that up, Joe, sorry. And the person to go was the person who I expected to go first, which was Tommy Sheridan. Now, I don't know, I think a lot of people expected Tommy, and I was one of these people. I read about some of the things he'd done in Parliament, I read about how he was a controversial figure. I expected another George Galloway. And what we got,
God, please don't say that. I imagine him drinking milk out of Latoya's hands.
Well, with what?
Good puss.
What I'm actually saying here is basically, a very, very angry sort of version of the puss incident. Who's a good puss? Who's a good puss? Who's a good puss? No, I don't want go.
But I mean, even if George Galloway wasn't the most pleasant contestant during these series, he made a big impact. And I think by casting Tommy, I think they were wanting to try and have another Galloway figure.
Yeah.
And we just didn't get one. What we got was a pleasant middle-aged man who just gave his all into tasks and didn't really cause that many arguments.
I totally didn't expect that of him, though.
No.
I think that's what shocked me.
I think the problem Tommy had was that Galloway basically went in there thinking, I'm just going to be who I am, I'm just going to cause trouble, I'm just going to be George Galloway.
I'm just going to make sure that I get a lot more, but I'm just going to make sure that we can show that Labour are more of the choice for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, that was wrong.
But so Galloway came in with that concept, and basically Tommy went in and with this idea of I'm very aware of the cameras, I'm very aware of how I'm going to be portrayed, so I'm going to rein it back. I'm not going to do anything which could damage my political career.
Yeah.
And I think he suffered as a housemate for that.
I don't think I've seen much of him since Big Brother.
No, am I right in saying he's been arrested for perjury?
Me?
Yes, he served in prison for a year for perjury. But yeah, I always felt that Tommy could have been a much better housemate if he just let it out a bit more. By being a bit more restrained, we've got quite a dull housemate, let's be honest. Can anybody remember any great Tommy Sheridan moments?
No, not really.
He was polite.
Exactly, but is polite being a good housemate?
No.
How many housemates get loved for being nice?
Well, there was a couple of moments, but
Yeah.
on the other hand, nah. Doesn't work.
Tommy Sheridan, disappointing for me. He could have been a lot better, and it just didn't deliver. I was glad to see him go when he did. But we come to the finale, and it actually, I don't know about you, I'm probably the minority here. This is one of the most underrated finales that I can remember. I mean, you need to have your big characters, you need to have your big dramatic moments for a finale to be good. And
Are we talking wet fireworks, big finale?
Not fireworks, but just in general, you just need...
Not fireworks, just a wet fireworks, you know. You're expecting a big, massive, display of fire and passion and, explosions, but instead you get fire.
Well, no, I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite with Celebrity 6. I thought Celebrity 6 had one of the great underrated finales. I mean, a lot of people talk about like Big Brother 3 as being great, a great finale, Big Brother 9 being great. I thought Celebrity 6 just had just as many shocks, surprises, dramatic moments as any other finale, and nobody ever speaks about it. I mean, obviously I'll discount Ben Adams for this, because Ben Adams pretty much didn't do anything to justify winning. But any one of those four, any one of Terry, Coolio, Ulrika, Verne, any one of them could have realistically won that series in my eyes. But we'll talk about the first person who was out of the house during that one, which is Ben Adams. Now, Ben Adams has to be one of the most predictable finale night first boots ever. I mean, nice enough guy, but he was never going to win, was he?
Nah, not really.
No. Any good Ben moment?
Yeah, if you know any good Ben Adams moments, please tell us, because we are really struggling here. I mean, pleasant enough. Obviously the girls were going to like him, but not much else there. The one thing I will say though, he was the only male who didn't seem to be part of that clique that I've talked about in the men versus women feud. He was the only man who really seemed to try and make an effort with the girls.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It does seem like that, but he's sort of used to being surrounded by, screaming girls. So, it's either be calm or...
Do you think maybe it was a bit of a cynical thing on his part to try and... Because obviously if he was going to get the girls on side, he was going to avoid getting votes from them, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. I mean, he was trying to get the A1 sort of vote, but then suddenly, now he's just basically selling coffee on the A1 now.
Yeah. You love that joke, don't you, Paul?
I love the joke because, quite frankly, who names a boy band A1? It's like naming a rock band the M720.
Tell you what, though, I'd rather take A1 over something like One Direction.
Good point. Well made.
Yes. But Ben left, nice enough bloke, not great television. Now, we come to quite a big controversial moment. Well, controversial in some people's eyes. And it was Verne Troyer leaving the house fourth, which caught everybody by surprise. I think the bookies had Verne as the winner. Verne did well on a lot of polls. What do you think it was that stopped people voting in to give Verne the win?
I would probably say the fact that you were right. The sort of Jekyll and Hyde thing sort of would have not actually made more appealing towards the voting crowd. But mind you, he went out in a blaze of glory, though, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I was hoping, he was going to do the same thing, Johnny Vegas did on 18 Stone of Idiot. It's just basically him on top of a ramp with the scooter on, and basically there's fireworks coming out of the scooter, and it's just phew.
Yeah.
He got a special exit as well.
Yes, he had to leave through the diary room door because obviously he couldn't get up the stairs. But I've always...
Or they had the crane. They had the crane.
Possibly, yeah. But I always felt that Verne leaving the house fourth was a big indicator of just who watched Celebrity Big Brother, who watched the Big Brother franchise in general, because people always seem to paint this impression that it's mainly tweens, it's mainly youngsters who vote on the show. But surely, if the youngsters voted for that series, Verne would have walked it, surely. Do you think that maybe it shows that by that point the fan base was maybe more older people who took into account more of what happened, maybe more of Verne's negative qualities?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I always remember there was a real contrast between how the public reacted. How like the public obviously voted Verne fourth, so obviously they didn't take to it. But then the crowd, the eviction crowd that were there, was very pro Verne. They were all chanting fix. They all thought, how the hell can Verne not win this show?
Sky? Because of the fact that, Verne Troyer was a brilliant housemate all in all, really.
Do you think there was maybe just simply complacency in regards to Verne? That people just thought, he's got this in the bag, so I'm not going to vote?
Well,
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, I was surprised that Verne didn't win. I'm not the biggest Verne fan in general, but I was surprised he didn't win. Now, obviously, Joe, what was your view as Verne as a contestant?
I think that it was only alright, really.
I think with me, I think he just played it as an experience to meet people, and just to get drunk and party hard. Really, in my case.
What about you, Joe?
I think that he was a good character, and that he had his moments. Is all I can say. Really. He
but
just had his moments.
Had his
That's-
moments.
that- but
How
that's-
took out the diary room door.
But that's
How can you? That's legendary, my friend.
I think Joe made a really good point there. What Verne had during the show were great moments, but great moments don't make you a great housemate. That's my opinion.
True that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Verne ends up fourth, really upsetting the eviction crowd in the process, which is obviously a good thing in my eyes because I have issues with the eviction crowd. And it's Coolio who goes third. Now,
Ooh.
obviously, well, you just answered my question for me there, Joe. What was your opinion of Coolio?
Yeah, basically, I just couldn't stand him. I just think that it was terrible. It was terrible.
It wasn't a gangster's paradise for him.
But I always.
Oh!
But I'm probably in the opposite though. I mean, yes, Coolio was a bit of a dick, let's be honest. But you need a dick housemate. I mean,
You have to have an evil
think
dick in the house.
of how poor that series would have been if Coolio hadn't have been there. Coolio was the only real antagonist of the series. Caused a lot of instigation. I mean, a lot of people criticise him being cast for Ultimate Big Brother. I completely understand why he was.
Yeah, yeah.
They wanted him back because of the fact that he was a good villain.
He was a fantastic villain, and he showed that with CBB6, in my opinion. I mean, yes, there were some things I didn't personally agree with him about. I think he maybe pushed it a bit too far and did get annoying. But I knew how poor the show could be if he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I think him reaching the final, and maybe not winning, but him reaching the final was thoroughly deserved, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah.
Any great Coolio moments on your part, Paul?
Not particularly, because
You were probably vegetating over Verne.
pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's bloody Verne. Bloody Troyer.
Did you just fast forward through all the episodes until we got to bits with Verne?
No, I watched the bits. I watched most of it, but I didn't. But it's just Verne is an absolute rock star, and why not? And I just see this little image of him dressed as the king from friggin' a Midsummer's Dream when they did that task, and it was brilliant. It was
Yeah, Coolio, that's where we were at.
So yeah, while Paul fanboys over there, let's talk about the
It was
winner.
friggin' Mini-Me! It's friggin' Mini-Me!
Fanboy.
I know fanboy.
You are a fanboy. But yeah, we'll move on. I personally loved Coolio. I mean, yes, he was a dick, but he was an entertaining dick. And you need one in the Big Brother series. I mean, do you know who he was? He was basically Rex.
Yeah.
He was a wind-up merchant. But we'll move on though. I mean, I love Coolio, but we'll have to move on though. And we come to that final two. A very unlikely final two, given the circumstances, which was Terry versus Ulrika. And
I expected Terry to win.
I think a lot of people expected Terry to win. So what was...
If you look at the nominations, 11 by Ulrika to 2 for Terry, I thought Ulrika had not a snowball's chance in hell.
Which makes me ask the question, what was your reaction when the Verne announced Ulrika Jonsson, you've won Celebrity Big Brother.
I was thinking, Ulrika, pushing babies up a hill. Ulrika, let's be on the pill. I love picking ball. But anyway, yeah, I think.
Oh man, I could a footballer Ulrika hasn't had.
Yeah, I think that I was quite shocked. You know, I thought Terry had it in the bag.
I mean, it was so surprising. I mean, like, Ulrika had pretty much spent the whole series as this miserable, lowly figure who sulked about her housemates, sulked about the house, showed real contempt to the show and the fan base of the show. And I just can't picture what people saw of Ulrika in there that made them think, we want that person to win.
You know who she is? I think Ulrika is the Nikki of the future.
Not the Nikki.
A grown-up Nikki Graham.
The Nikki of the
I can
past,
see-
man.
I can see that
She
actually.
was being. I could just imagine those memes where they just put, hipster glasses on Ulrika Jonsson saying, "I did it before I was cool." I was Nikki before Nikki was cool.
Yeah. But yeah, the only thing I do like, there's a couple of things I do like Ulrika for, which I'll have to give you this. The first was she was very smart in how she manipulated the public, and I think that's something you seldom see on a show like that. And I think she's very clever for doing so. But also, I do love the hilarity of somebody so miserable about the whole experience, just as a random lol-worthy winner. I mean, Ulrika, just completely out of nowhere, just people thinking, let's get the sulking, miserable one to win.
Basically, it's practically sounds like the vote to piss Simon Cowell off.
Well, yeah, she was a protest vote. I actually do think, my opinion is there was a lot of protest vote in Ulrika winning because production obviously loved Verne. And I think Ulrika was sort of became the default anti-Verne vote.
Burn the river then.
Yeah, but we'll talk about Ulrika as a housemate in general a little bit more, but we're going to be talking about Terry, the runner-up. Now, Terry had a basis on paper, a lot of aspects that should have made him a winner. I mean, he was nice, likeable enough, prominent enough, he had a couple of fun moments, he had this quite great self-loathing sense of humour, quite, put himself down a lot. He should have had it in the bag, really. What do you think it was that put people off voting for Terry in the end?
Probably because Ulrika got all the women's votes.
Yeah,
It's not women who watch Big Brother.
I think that's what she. I think Joe's right. That's how Ulrika Jonsson actually did because most of the women were watching the show just I agree with you, sister. I'm gonna vote for you. So
You go, girlfriend.
You go, girlfriend. I ain't got time for that.
Are there any great Terry moments that come to mind for you, Joe?
Not particularly, but I'm not very good at remembering things. But
He was a nice enough bloke, though.
yeah, it was a nice bloke. One thing I always remember Terry for, not in Big Brother, but was when he was in the 80s and 90s, when he was the host of a TV program, and he just said to these students, "Here you go, take this, I'm walking out," and he left.
I remember that. And I also quite love that they basically tried to use this, Channel 4 tried to use Celebrity Big Brother as an excuse to try and give Terry Christian a career back, which pretty much failed.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, nice enough bloke, a bit too default as a winner, but I probably would have preferred him a bit more than Ulrika, to be honest. Which brings us to Miss Jonsson, and to question to Paul, what did you think of Ulrika as a housemate and as a winner?
Well, a smart housemate, I go so Ulrika, because she is, I thought that she was just basically being a bit of a feminist. Sort of a bit sexist and feminist at the same time.
There's our feminist view was gone. Alright.
Do you think?
I apologize. Come back. We love you. But
Do you think that a lot of Ulrika's victory came from her prominence pre-show? I mean, Ulrika was by far the biggest star of the series, and I think just simply being Ulrika Jonsson, presenter of Gladiators, panelist on Shooting Stars, would have given her a boost.
Yeah, pretty much that. Yeah, I mean, she already had a reputation on there, so you know.
Do you know what it sort of reminds me of? It sort of reminds me a bit of Martin Kemp when he was in his series, because Martin didn't really do that much. He was a bit dull, but he still got third place just for being Martin Kemp. And I think there was a lot of that with Ulrika.
And who wants to screw around with Martin Kemp? Exactly.
But yeah, I think there was a bit of pre-rep. I think there was a bit of feminist vote, but I think Ulrika had a lot of basis to win the show, and of course she eventually did. She's not my favourite winner, but I understand why she won, and I understand a lot of the credit that she should get.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But from Ulrika, from her judgment as a winner, we have to judge this series. Now, personally, from my point of view, it's not one of the better celebrity series. In all honesty, I'd probably put it second last. I mean, Celebrity 8's probably my least favourite series, but this runs it close, I have to be honest.
would probably, for the fact that they casted Verne Troyer and not anything to do with the bow selector guy, is a bit of which is a bit of a upbeat sort of thing. But on the other hand, it wasn't actually. It was basically the wet firework, you know, spectacular, but you know. It wasn't that spectacular, but you know, it did make a little, you know.
It should have been a lot better than what it was.
Yes.
I think that cast scene had so much potential, which just didn't deliver. And I mean,
yes, that's why I call it a wet firework.
There's funny moments. I mean, all that Verne did, Shrek 8. I mean, good, memorable moments. But apart from that, no, just very underwhelming.
Yeah.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I agree that it was underwhelming. It was alright, but it was it's underwhelming as a series. Not as good as some other series.
Yeah. I'm guessing by not as good as other series, you're talking about Big Brother 9 there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which ironically is the series we're going to be talking about next time on Big Brother's Big Archive. One I'm really looking forward to.
Celebrity Big Brother folks, I'm not prepared for that yet.
Yes, but don't worry, we won't be covering Celebrity Big Brother 5 for another 2 or 3 episodes yet, so don't worry.
But do not fret, for when the time will come, we will be ready.
Yes, but we are going to be ready to talk about Big Brother 9 in just a few weeks' time. I mean, I've got a holiday coming up, so it won't be next week, but it will be coming up very soon. But that's all we've got time for, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to all we have to say about Celebrity Big Brother 6. My name's been Karl Bainbridge. That's been Mr. Paul Barron.
I am now riding off into the sunset of my little scooter. Farewell, my friend.
And Mr. Joseph Tilley.
Goodbye.
And thank you once again for joining us to listen to the show. And we'll be seeing you again when we cover Big Brother 9. Bye bye for now.
Bye.